Breaking news late tonight. An arrest warrant has been issued for Brian Laundrie as investigators search for him in Florida. Also, what we've learned about Laundrie's survival skills. Friends say he could live on the land for months. How does that change the manhunt? Lenny DePaul, U.S. Marshal and star of Manhunter, joins us to talk about how to find a needle in a haystack. The Border Patrol suspends horse patrols in Del Rio, Texas, as the U.S. envoy to Haiti resigns today over deportations. We have both sides of the aisle joining us on the border crisis. Also, officers under fire for allowing their police dog to repeatedly bite a suspect during an arrest. That's in our Policing in America segment tonight. We have a lot on the docket, and it's great to have you with us. The Donlon Report starts right now. We start with breaking news off the top. Within the past hour, the FBI has issued an arrest warrant for Brian Laundrie. Authorities say Laundrie used Gabby Petito's credit card after she disappeared. The charge, bank fraud. With each passing day, though, we don't know if authorities are actually getting any closer to finding him. And a new report suggests it could take a while. The Daily Mail quotes Gabby Petito's friends as saying Laundrie is well equipped to survive months on his own in the wild. How does that impact the search? In just a minute, we'll be joined by Lenny DePaul, star of Manhunter's Fugitive Task Force on A&E. We're also learning more about Gabby's final days, an incident that happened in Jackson, Wyoming. A restaurant confirms Gabby and Brian ate there, and now another couple has also come forward. They say they were at the restaurant at the same time, and there was a confrontation involving Laundrie. He got aggressive toward a waitress, a hostess, and a manager, according to this couple. He left and came back 4 times. And according to their account, Gabby then came inside to apologize for Laundrie's behavior. Now, this is where the timeline comes in, because this incident at the diner happened on August 27th. That's 2 days after Gabby's last conversation with her family. And as we know now, just days and perhaps hours before her death. That's because we know Laundrie returned to Florida by himself in Gabby's van on September 1st. That's a nearly 2,400-mile trip. Where does the search stand tonight? That's where we start with News Nation's Brian Enton. Brian, it's good to see you again, and I know you're following the search. We want to start, though, with the latest on this arrest warrant. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, Joe, this is all literally developing right now, but we basically just learned a short time ago from the FBI there is now this arrest warrant for Brian Laundrie. This is no longer a missing persons case involving Brian Laundrie. This is now an all-out manhunt for Brian Laundrie. The warrant might not be for what you expect, though. The official charge on the warrant is use of unauthorized access device. That is essentially bank fraud. They did not give a lot of details in the court paperwork, but what they did say is they're accusing Brian Laundrie of using a debit card and a PIN that did not belong to him, and they say it is connected to the disappearance of Gabby Petito. That's what we know about that arrest warrant. As for the search, they were out at the reserve again today, the Carlton Reserve, 24,000 acres. We've been talking about it for days. Alligators, snakes. They had the ATVs out there again and the drones and the helicopters. They came up with nothing, but they did tell us they will be back out there again tomorrow, which seems to lead to the fact that they must know for some reason that he could possibly be there. So they'll continue that search again tomorrow. Also, interesting today, Brian Laundrie's parents, they've been in this house behind me and they haven't come out in days. Well, this morning, they came out. First, they left and they went and they picked up the silver Mustang that we've been talking about. They brought that back to the house. Then they left again and they went to Orlando, where they met with their attorney from New York. He apparently flew in, met with them in Orlando. The parents just got back a couple of hours ago. I tried shouting a couple of questions at them. What do you know about Gabby Petito's death? Why aren't you out searching for their son? They just very calmly got out of their truck and went back into their house behind me, Joe.
Brian, there's also a report that a neighbor there says the family went camping at some point after Brian returned and before Gabby's body was found.
Yeah, and let me show you. I'm going to step out of the way and show you. This is what they're talking about. Not the camper van that was Gabby's, but this white camper you see right here. According to the neighbor, about a week and a half ago, She says she saw the Laundries, the parents and Brian Laundrie, packing up this camper, putting it on the back of the pickup truck, and going camping for the weekend. It's the first time we've heard this story. It came out yesterday. We know that police are trying to corroborate all of that, Joe.
And Brian, quickly, just before we go, I wanted to clarify one thing, because it appears Laundrie drove a vehicle to the Carlson Reserve and then left on foot, right? Because the parents at some point went and picked up the car, so it doesn't appear, at least at this point, he has transportation, correct?
Correct, yes. And the car that he apparently drove is this silver Mustang behind me that's behind the camper. According to the parents, he drove it to the reserve. They went and picked it up and brought it back here to the house after he went missing. So we don't know that he could be in a car right now.
Okay. Brian Enton, thank you, as always, for your report tonight, Northport, Florida. We will be in touch and let us know if anything breaks while we're on the air here. But I did want to ask that question for our next guest, who is a former U.S. Marshal and host of Manhunters Fugitive Task Force, Lenny DePaul. Lenny, it's great to have you. Let's start with this arrest warrant that we've heard right now. This is all part of the digital history that I'm sure investigators are turning upside down, including bank records and anything else. What does this arrest warrant tell you?
Well, good evening, Joe. And this is a home run for law enforcement. I mean, this, advantage law enforcement. An arrest warrant speaks volumes. Couple things. Number one, if this fugitive is held up somewhere, let's say, and they need to make entry into a house or a dwelling, and he's not cooperating, they can make a forced entry. It also gives them a little ammunition going into conversations now with his trusted circle of friends, his family. They could be harboring a fugitive. They could get federal charges, thrown on them with that, and especially aiding and abetting and whatnot. So it's good to have an arrest warrant in place, and quite frankly, it's about time.
We were wondering, Lenny, whether he was skilled in survival in the wild. Last week we talked about it, and now we know, at least from some friends, that he is and could survive on his own, potentially for months, is what they're saying. How does that figure into this search right now? What does that say to you?
Well, you can't rule anything out, Joe. I mean, you got to look at everything. And we can go back a little bit in time and go back to some choke points and start a fugitive investigation. But it's an intense manhunt right now. So you got to look at everything. They're turning these worlds upside down on all of his circle of friends, his family and whatnot. That digital footprint is extremely important. But being a survivalist, we're not even sure if that Mustang that he drove up there to the reserve was a plant. I mean, he might have had figured this out. He had days coming across country in that van to figure things out. Who was he calling? What kind of an app was he using to communicate? There's something going on historically with him that I'm sure law enforcement's trying to figure out as we speak. Right. I mean, as a fugitive investigator, Joe, you gotta hit the ground running. I mean, these are things that you can't leave any stones unturned. Again, digital footprints, trusted circle of friends, who's who in the zoo, we like to say. Let's leave no stones unturned, and I'm sure that's what they're doing. So don't rule anything out. The arrest warrant, definitely a home run for law enforcement right now. Right. And hopefully this thing goes down without incident.
Lenny, John Walsh was on Banfield, and he talked about this case and what it'll take to solve. Let's listen to a clip, and we'll ask you about it after.
The public is building this case. The public is breaking this case wide open. And, it's people like you, Ashley, that are building and filling it in. It's the social media people that care. That's how I've caught the world's most wanted and find missing children, because people do care.
Lenny, as great as you guys are, you probably need some help in this case, right? I mean, millions of people are following this case online, trying to figure it out themselves. I hear there's a flight attendant now who thought she had seen Laundrie up in Canada. Does any of this help, or does it get in the way of an investigation and a manhunt?
No, I agree with John. I mean, certainly human instincts have turned into animal instincts. He's off the grid. He's gone dark. Is he a survivalist? Who knows? Provisions are going to run out. The money trail's there and whatnot. But you have to stay vigilant. The public needs to stay vigilant. You folks are doing a great job. Social media is fired up. His photo is everywhere. I'm about 10 miles north of the Petito family here in Long Island. Everybody's talking about it. So that's going to help a lot. Money talks. I mean, there's Crime Stoppers. Where's the reward? Get some money out there. The streets like to talk, Joe. Right. It's amazing what people will say and do when money's involved.
And
so,
I'm guessing,
yes, the public is going to help with this case.
Your history in these cases, Lenny, too, will tell you that at some point, most of these fugitives, I'm guessing, make a mistake.
absolutely make a mistake, and that's what you sit back and wait for. Like I said, there's an initial manhunt going on right now. It's intense. But there's also a fugitive investigation going on behind the scenes. These guys they're putting that puzzle together. They're connecting the dots. They're waiting for that slip up. I'm sure he's got a burner phone. He's done his homework. But we're way ahead of the curve on this stuff. I mean, our electronic surveillance units, our technical operation groups and whatnot, the financial surveillance units, they're all over this thing. So like I said, I'm sure that trusted circle of friends and who's who in the zoo, they're turning their worlds upside down. They're waiting for him to slip up, and hopefully it's just a matter of time, Joe.
Are you convinced he's still alive, Lenny?
I think it's a possibility. I've heard some rumors, nothing confirmed, that he's a little arrogant. He might have said some things over social media, something similar to, they're never going to find me. I've heard it a million times in my 3 decades of hunting down, violent felony fugitives. So they're going to have a shootout with cops and whatnot. Let's just hope that his mindset is not suicide by cop, that he'll just throw his hands up and give up, and hopefully this goes down without incident, like I said.
All right, Lenny DePaul, it's great to have you. And actually, I'd love to have you back as long as this search continues, because the insight is appreciated and so is the time.
Thank you, Joe. It's an honor to be here.
More on the search for Brian Laundrie later this hour. Ashley Banfield and Marnie Hughes both join us. Plus, breaking news on a missing persons case that isn't getting much coverage nationally. The body of Jelani Day has been found. We're going to talk about why the country gets captivated by some crimes and not others. Is it race-related? RUDABEH SHAHBAZI joins us with that. Plus, straight ahead, border agents on horseback. Most patrols have been suspended now in Del Rio, Texas, at least for the time being. We have 2 members of Congress from Texas, from both sides of the aisle, and that's next. Don't forget, you can follow us on social media at the Donlon Report on Twitter. Back after this.
Certainly is not an open border. We are continuing to employ our immigration proceedings and process and restrictions at the border.
That was White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki today, claiming the southern border is not open. Meantime, in this small border community of Del Rio, Texas, thousands of Haitian migrants are stuck in a camp now under that bridge we've been telling you about, awaiting processing or possible deportation. Those deportations have driven the U.S. Special Envoy to Haiti, Daniel Foote, to resign, saying he will not be associated with the inhumane, counterproductive deportations. Joining us now, Representative August Pfluger, representative from Texas. Representative, let's start with the policy there and what you've seen. I know you were in Del Rio recently. What did you see there, and what's your reaction to the response?
Well, thank you for having me. And I went down there on Saturday. My district is only about an hour or so at the southern side of it. We're very close to the border. I'm on Homeland Security. And so as part of our oversight duties, I wanted to see firsthand what happened. And what I saw, what I heard, the situation on the ground underneath the bridge at 100-degree temperatures was horrific. And it goes to show you just how bad things really are. And this is not unique. I mean, unfortunately, this has been happening all along our southern border. We've got over 1.5 million illegal immigrants who have entered this country thus far this year, which is 300% more than we will have had last year. The Biden administration won't admit that it's a crisis. And what you have in Del Rio, not only is a human tragedy, but it's also, it goes to show the lack of security that we have right now, where Secretary Mayorkas is saying that we have a secure border. We don't. It's unsecure. The threat of terrorism, the drugs, the human trafficking, it's got to stop. Enough is enough.
You're saying 1.5 million. Are you talking about the encounters, or are you talking about people actually coming in?
Right. The encounters that we've had is on track for 1.5 million. It's about 1.2 million so far.
Right.
And by the end of the fiscal year, with a month remaining, we will have reached about 300% increase over last year.
The numbers, as I understand it, are tens of thousands more possibly heading for the border right now. What do you think we do moving forward?
Well, you're right. That's what we heard from the Border Patrol agents in Del Rio. They said, yes, this is terrible. I mean, it's the worst we've ever seen, but we're worried about those who are coming behind them. It's the policies that the Biden administration on day one reversed, the Remain in Mexico policy, which was finally upheld by the Supreme Court. The agreements that we have with the Northern Triangle countries, these were deterrents that President Trump worked so hard to agree on with other countries to say we can't have these surges going through your country or coming to our border. That's what we need the administration to get back to. And DHS has reported to us that there are 40 to 60,000 people right now on the way. And that's the cost of this, is that many people in a convoy type situation. It harms our country so incredibly bad.
Well, let's play a clip from California Representative Maxine Waters. She talked about the response in Del Rio. Here is a portion of that. We'll talk to you after.
And I'm not just unhappy with the cowboys who were running down Haitians and using their reins to whip them. I'm happy with the administration. We are following the Trump policy.
What does that say to you, Congressman? What is the policy right now, I guess, is question number one. And also, what do you make of the Haitian envoy resigning today as a result of the policy?
Well, I'm not sure what policies that she thinks we're following from Trump, because he took steps to make sure that we had a safe and secure country. But it's unbelievable that the Biden administration is going to throw DPS and Border Patrol, customs agents and ICE agents under the bus for doing their job, for enforcing the law of the land. It really is unbelievable. What they're not talking about and what they're not showing are the assaults that were happening on our own Border Patrol agents. You know, you have to think that these agents, I mean, the morale is very low because they don't feel that the administration has their back. And I think we're seeing that they don't have their back.
Well, how do we determine, Congressman, who stays and who gets sent back, say, to Haiti? And how does the Biden administration's lifting of the cap to 125,000 refugees a year, how will that impact the surge that's coming in now?
Well, it's only going to increase it. These are the kind of policies that you see that are motivating people to come. I talked to people on Saturday throughout the camp. I mean, it was a refugee situation. But I talked to people and I asked them why they came now. Why did they come to Del Rio specifically? And they said, it's because we heard it was open. Cell phones, social media, the cartels and the criminal organizations, they're moving people because they know that these policies are allowing folks to get into our country illegally.
Have you heard, I saw today about the possibility of hiring private contractors and using Guantanamo Bay as a possible refugee holding center? It wouldn't be huge, maybe up to 400 people total. Do you think that's a possibility?
You know, we're not tracking that right this second as a possibility. And I think the administration needs to get their arms around enforcing the current laws that we have. We have seen this over decades be an issue at the border, but we've never seen it this bad. And it's this bad because the Biden administration has basically communicated to the rest of the world that we have an open border. We've got the laws in place. We had the agreements in place. We just need to enforce the ones we have. So if we're going to use something different, a holding facility like Guantanamo Bay, obviously we need to be very involved in understanding what that means and what the plan is. But what I want to know is, what is their plan to enforce the laws that we have on the books right this second, which they have failed to do?
Texas Representative August Pfluger, I know you have a vote on the floor here in about a minute and a half, so we're up against a hard out for you. We'll let you go. Thank you for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Good night.
The crisis on the border seems to be getting worse by the day. Not an issue for the left or the right, but an American issue. I spoke with Congressman Henry Cuellar, representing Texas's 28th district on the Mexican border, about the ongoing humanitarian crisis and the White House saying the border was not open. Joining me now, Democratic Representative from Texas, Henry Cuellar. Congressman, it's great to have you. Thank you for the time. You heard what Jen Psaki there said. It's not an open border. This is your backyard, is it?
Without due respect, it has become an open border. I know they're saying that it's not an open border, but all you have to do is just look at the images of people just coming in. They need to understand that we just can't play defense on the 1 yard line, but we got to do more. We got to do a lot more to make sure that we play defense on their 20-yard line, working with people from Mexico, working with people from Guatemala. Otherwise, we're just going to see people from 85 countries continue coming into the United States.
Congressman, what have you been told about how many more are coming?
Well, my understanding, there's still nationwide in Mexico, roughly about 30,000, and Colombia, maybe another 30,000, another 15,000 in Panama. And again, we got to treat everybody with respect and dignity. But if they don't qualify for asylum law, then that's what the law says. So again, I think the surge of people coming into the United States is going to continue for a while.
How does this work? What is the process, Congressman? Because it's confusing. I mean, is there a room where these migrants one by one come in, make their case, and then someone decides either you can stay or you have to go?
Well, that's where the asylum law is supposed to be, is to provide them the opportunity. And that's why I've been pushing to get more judges at the border to give them their day in court. And that's what I want to see. I want to see more people with their day in court. And if you look at the asylum cases, if you have 100 people, usually 88 to 90% are going to be rejected, and only 10 to 12% are going to be accepted. So, again, this applies to everybody. Why are we allowing everybody to come into the United States when, under a false hope, when most of them are going to be rejected?
What do you make of the U.S. envoy to Haiti resigning today, Congressman Daniel Foote, basically saying the inhumane, counterproductive decision by the administration to deport some of the Haitian migrants was behind it?
Well, again, he took the action based on principles. I understand that. I still go back. What is the law? The law is you treat everybody with dignity, with respect. But just like President Obama, Secretary Jay Johnson, they basically said, if somebody's supposed to stay, then they stay. If somebody says the law says you can't stay, then unfortunately you got to deport people. And whether they came from Chile or they came in from Brazil or some other country, that's what we need to take a look at.
You mentioned dignity and respect. Congressman, I'm wondering your thoughts on the images we saw of the border agents on horseback. I think part of the reason this was so startling to so many people is that we had never really seen anything like this. DHS now saying that they will no longer allow these horseback patrols in Del Rio. Where are you on this?
Well, certainly we got to do everything to make sure people are treated with respect. What came out certainly was something that wasn't portrayed the way it was. I mean, I certainly don't want anybody to be whipped. I certainly don't want anybody to be hurt in any way or form. But at the same time, what we got to make sure that we understand is that, the Border Patrol has been using horses for many years. I mean, for many years, they use them in Laredo, they use them in Del Rio and other places where they have the terrain where a truck might not be able to go. So they've been using horses for a long time. But certainly in this situation, the images that came out is something that should be investigated. It has been investigated. And let's see what comes out of that investigation. And again, if somebody did something wrong, then they should be punished accordingly.
Congressman Henry Cuellar, again, it's always great to have you on the broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Our coverage of the Gabby Petito case continues. An arrest warrant has been issued for her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. We have team coverage. Ashley Banfield, Marnie Hughes, and RUDABEH SHAHBAZI ahead of tonight's 1-hour Gabby Petito live special. That's tonight right here on News Nation Prime. Plus the story of another missing person, the body identified today. Plus, police officers under fire after a police dog attacked a suspect and bites him repeatedly. We have the video of that ahead. The search for Brian Laundrie continues tonight, and so does News Nation's in-depth coverage of the case with Ashley Banfield, Marnie Hughes, and RUDABEH SHAHBAZI. Ashley's show and News Nation Prime with Marnie will broadcast special programs on the case tonight. Meantime, we begin, though, this segment with RUDABEH. And RUDABEH, you have new developments in a case of a person who disappeared, and some of this will sound familiar for sure.
Yeah, some of it will, some of it won't. This is the case of a young missing person, parents who have been crying out for help, Joe, and then a body tragically found, but it is not Gabby Petito. It's Jelani Day, someone you may have never heard of. In fact, Day's body was just identified hours ago after being found on September 4th, floating in a river in Illinois. Day was an aspiring doctor and a graduate student. He was last seen on the campus of Illinois State University on August 24th and reported missing that same day. His mother spoke to him every day and reported him missing the very day he went silent. She says Day wasn't depressed, didn't know the area or anyone in it, and now she wants answers and justice. And then she added this. Carmen Bolden Day says she knows what Gabby Petito's family is going through and feels for them, and she says her son is just as important.
And she got the attention. Gabby was plastered out over the TVs, and everybody was talking about her, news media. FBI is looking for her. You see all kinds of searches going on. I hadn't talked to my son in 1 day. You see the racial disparity. This should not continue to go on. This should not, people should know this should not continue to go on just because he's not white and he didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes.
And Joe says she had to mount a grassroots effort and still couldn't get attention for her son's case.
Do we know when we might get some answers as to what happened, RUDABEH?
She's waiting just like everyone else is. The body was in a river, so it took a long time to ID. The cause of death is still unknown at this hour, Joe.
All right, RUDABEH, stay right there. We're going to bring Marnie and Ashley into the conversation now. And Ashley, let's start with you on this, because there has been a lot of media criticism about how much attention this case has received, and it wouldn't have been the case, at least on the national level, if this were a person of color. You've covered a lot of these cases. Do you think this is a media issue, or is it the media reacting to what the audience wants?
Well, I will say that RUDABEH's reporting is spot on, and the truth is most of the media coverage of missing people tends to be girls, for one, missing girls, and oftentimes white girls as well. I will differ from a lot of the criticism on the Gabby Petito case because there is so much more that this particular case has delivered, and that is a route that the viewers could actually travel with through visual media, meaning photographs and video and social media, and a journey that people were taking with these people that abruptly ended, where a mystery began and a man ran away and parents were devastated and other parents were tight-lipped and the police went on a manhunt. So in a lot of missing persons cases, those elements don't actually exist. And we're a visual medium on television. We have to show pictures. A lot of missing persons cases come into us with one photograph, sometimes a blurry photograph, and it is very, very difficult to get the public engaged and fascinated and posting and intrigued when we don't have much more than a picture. But in Gabby's case, she was prolific with what she posted. Thousands of images, hours of video, and then, of course, the TikTok of her journey. So this was a very different case. It was a Netflix series made for television. A lot of those missing persons cases just aren't that, so sadly.
It's played out right in front of our eyes. Marnie, the other point of this, too, is that we have this obsession with sort of true crime, I guess, if you will, and millions, tens of millions of people have been drawn into this case, but via the internet. They're sort of amateur detectives on this, whereas I think 5-10 years ago, you even wonder if you would have heard about what happened at this diner in Jackson, Wyoming.
Yeah, I think piggybacking on what Ashley said there, Joe, I mean, these are citizen detectives, and they're able to do this because of social media and really the reach of this case in terms of the video available. And as Ashley said, Gabby and Brian's journey. I mean, TikTok, for example, alone, 867 million hits of hashtag Gabby Petito, 867 million. People were invited to tag along on this case, and the timeline started on July 2nd, them leaving New York. They went to Kansas, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, national parks. A couple days they would camp in one spot. 3 nights they would camp in another, and all along the way, those spots are possible clues. So people are invested in this. The public has access to the same clues that investigators with the FBI are combing through, and they want to solve this case because they're interested, they've been following it because they want justice for Gabby. And I don't think that this interest is going to go away until there is some sort of resolution. People want answers, and many of those answers, they believe, lie with Brian.
RUDABEH, more on your reporting today, because the numbers are staggering, really. We've talked about this, and we looked it up actually for our broadcast last week. It's hard to believe how many people are missing and go missing in a year, but I think we all, no matter where you live, have a case that we all remember.
Yeah, Joe, 90,000 people in America missing at any given time, roughly 90, a little short of 90,000 people at any given time. It is staggering. And if you think about telling all of these cases, it would be our entire newscast, right? I mean, I looked into Daniel Robinson. He's another young black man, 24 years old, a geologist who went missing in Arizona. His father is very upset, saying that his case also hasn't drawn any attention. Nancy Liu just did reporting on Native American women. It's the third leading cause of death, homicide, for Native American women. Only 25% of those cases are solved. So the numbers are staggering, and they do involve people of color. It's roughly split between men and women, about 60% adults, 40% children. But if you think about the number and then you put a face, as we're seeing right now, with those numbers and all of the stories and all of the loved ones that go with each missing person, it's mind-blowing to think about.
Is it a positive, RUDABEH, that a case like this with Gabby Petito at least draws attention to some of these many local missing cases?
I guess it depends who you ask, right? When I talk to grieving mothers, they said, you know, now you're following it, but our son was just as important, or our daughter was just as important, and we've done everything. We've been fighting along the way to try to get justice, and not only to try to get justice and answers, but to try to get any kind of attention, both from the media and from law enforcement. So I guess if the cases are solved, if law enforcement is aggressive in their efforts, the way we've seen Gabby Petito's case, you know, maybe that is positive, but I think it really depends on who you ask. And if you talk to some of these family members, you know, they might not be as on board with that notion.
All right, I want to get Ashley and Marnie quickly before we let you go on what's ahead for us tonight. Ashley, starting with you, we are up against the clock here, but what does this arrest warrant mean to you and the case?
Well, it means that Elizabeth Vargas is going to be busy. She's our guest tonight. She's from America's Most Wanted. They actually focus on the most wanted people. And I think it's safe to say, as far as a lot of people are concerned, this man is one of America's Most Wanted. He's not officially on a list yet, but, you know, John Walsh has also put him on his list for In Pursuit. So on our program tonight, we're going to drill down on some of the things that betray you. The arrest warrant has to do with a digital popcorn trail, a fraudulent use of an ATM card. That is one of those things that will betray you. You think you're in public alone, a camera is catching you at the ATM. And listen, there will be hundreds and hundreds of cameras that have caught that man in his journey from Wyoming to Florida and wherever he may be right now. So we're going to drill down on that and how someone, a citizen detective, might have actually already captured his image.
Marnie, this will be interactive for you tonight on Prime.
That's right. So we have welcomed in our viewer questions tonight in coordination with Brian Enton, who's been on the ground in Florida since the very beginning of this case. And some of their questions: why have the Laundrie parents not been talking and sharing the information they know? The trail cams in the Carlton Reserve, they've been in place since 2006. Have they picked up any information? And what are Brian Laundrie's survivalist skills? How long could he survive out there if he is in fact still alive? We're taking viewer questions tonight and dedicating an entire hour to this Petito case, Joe.
All right. Thanks to all three of you. And just a quick reminder as we head to break, you'll see the specials tonight. Prime is at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Banfield, 10 Eastern, 9 Central. Thank you to all. Vaccinate
Thanks,
or else. The Biden administration issuing a stern warning to U.S. troops refusing to get the COVID vaccine, get the shot, or face being dishonorably discharged. Reaction from a retired colonel next. And a police dog attacks a suspect during an arrest, and it's all caught on tape. Was it unnecessary? That's ahead. Tonight, a judge is siding with New York City, allowing Mayor Bill de Blasio to mandate COVID-19 vaccines for school teachers and staff by Monday. Meantime, the Biden administration continues to push sweeping federal vaccine requirements, suggesting troops should be dishonorably discharged if they refuse. In a statement, the White House says it strongly opposes a provision of the National Defense Authorization Act that prohibits the Pentagon from punishing or dishonorably discharging any service member who refuses a vaccine. Our next guest is a retired Department of Defense intelligence officer and president of the London Center for Policy Research. He's joined us many times with his insight. We appreciate it tonight. Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer, good to see you again, Colonel. Is this the right move, in your opinion, a dishonorable discharge?
So this is a sticky subject and one I don't believe should be confrontational, but it has become so. 716, the section of the new NDAA, says that no person can be discharged for refusing the vaccine in other than honorable situations. They would get an honorable discharge. And the issue is, Joe, there are medical issues which require some people to potentially not take the vaccine. I was talking to Tim Parlatore, the Parlatore Law Group, who's handling some of this. And the issue is there are medical reasons, valid medical reasons, to not have members inoculated. About 800,000 of the 1.4 million service members right now are not inoculated, and they have some real reasons. First off, some folks who have already been infected, they had the serology test, which basically shows that their immunity is 3 times higher than the vaccine. So you got to wonder, why do you want to have someone vaccinated who already has the immunity? And one other case I'm aware of, the person recovered from cancer. Their doctor has said, hey, I don't think it's a good idea based on these other drugs which are still in your system for you to potentially take this shot. So what to me should be a medical issue, one which is decided by the individual and the medical professionals they deal with, is being taken out of their hands, and they're going to be left with a choice of following good medical advice or potentially losing their career if Joe Biden gets his way. And this is a very serious situation where members of the service signed up to defend the nation, and now they're being confronted with something that is almost a punitive response from the White House should they decide to do what medically may be in their best interest.
Yeah, what are the other alternatives then, Colonel? I mean, if it isn't a dishonorable discharge.
We've gone down this path before. If you recall back in the early 2000s, there was an issue with anthrax. I was deploying to Afghanistan, and I decided I didn't need it. I'm an intelligence officer. There was no valid threat. I was able to get out of it. Others at the time were suing the government to not have to take it. There was people I knew who had loved ones who died from enlarged hearts. They were saying that the enlarged hearts were from the anthrax. So it's one of those issues where I think you have to look at the science, make individual decisions, and then the chain of command has to decide how they want to handle it. What Biden's trying to do is take that decision-making out of the hands of the chain of command for them to make good decisions and say that, no, across the board, if someone refuses to take the vaccine...
Oh, looks like we lost the Colonel. But we appreciate his time. And hopefully maybe you got a chance to adjust your set while we had the test signal up. Meantime, let's move on, because we're talking about people hiding in freezers and locked in offices. A breaking news story that we were following today, all in an effort to save their lives. Yet 13 people were shot, 2 killed today, including the gunman at a Kroger supermarket in Colliersville, Tennessee. Police say employees did what they were trained to do: run, hide, fight, but adding that the injuries among both workers and customers are serious tonight. The shooter, they add, killed himself. No details at this point on a motive. And now, 1 week has passed since the time Gabby Petito was declared missing to when authorities started searching for her fiancé, Brian Laundrie. And now, as we mentioned, there's an arrest warrant out for him. The question, did authorities wait too long? Here's a timeline. According to news reports, on September 1st, Brian Laundrie returned to Florida by himself. And then 10 days later, Gabby Petito was declared missing as Brian Laundrie went camping with his family. September 14th, Petito's family asked for help, and it's also the last time Laundrie's family sees Brian. The next day, with him gone and Gabby missing, police name him a person of interest. Not until September 17th is he declared missing, and then 2 days later, nearly 3 weeks from when Brian Laundrie returned to Florida, police find Petito's body. Were authorities too slow to react? Let's ask Laura Richards, expert on domestic violence, and Sheriff Mark Lamb of Pinal County, Arizona. Sheriff, let's start with you. With Laundrie still missing, people are asking, was he given too much of a chance to possibly run?
You know, that's really hard to say, Joe. I mean, I wouldn't know all the details. Here's what we do know is until you, and I don't mean to be crass by saying this, but until you have a body, it's hard to say you have a crime. Now, they may have had a lot of suspicion as to whether or not he was the prime suspect, but it boils down to evidence. And you always want to make sure that you put a solid case against these people so that you can keep them in jail and in prison when you do actually file those charges and they're convicted. So it's hard to say that they waited too long. Obviously, he's gone now, so we can armchair quarterback and say that they did, but it's too hard to say that.
Yeah, it's hindsight. Point taken, Sheriff. Laura, let's shift to you on that then. Were there signs, despite what we're saying here about it being hindsight, that investigators missed? Maybe a clue from that incident in Utah where they were pulled over. Was there something in that stop that stood out to you?
Well, I've analyzed the 1 hour, 17 minutes, and yes, there were multiple indicators of coercive control and domestic abuse. So things like Gabby being really upset right from the start, but she self-blames all the way through, whereas he says it's her the whole way through, and he's very calm, cool and collected. He's very manipulative. And he should have been asked more questions, but unfortunately she should have too. And they should have put someone in to talk to her far earlier who's got knowledge of coercive control, because the officers did ask about physical abuse, but too often it's coercive control, it's entrapment, domination that actually correlates with femicide. And Brian was very interested in what Gabby had said to the police. He said, "I hope she hasn't made too many complaints about me. I love her." And he continuously diminished her and devalued her throughout the time that the police talked to him. And he even laughed when the police officer with the beard said that you are the victim of domestic violence. He laughed and he started joking for the rest of the time, clearly relieved that he wasn't being seen as the person who was causing the problem.
Right. I want to get, Sheriff, you on this video from the St. Louis area where police used a dog during an arrest, and the dog bit the man. It was captured by a witness who was furious about it. We're going to hopefully show some pictures of it. In your opinion, you know, we're used to seeing dogs take suspects down, but this guy seems like he's just standing there with his legs spread.
Yeah, you know, it's, once again, I hate always chiming in on something I don't know all the facts on. Purely out of visual, it doesn't look great. You had multiple officers there that should have been able to subdue this guy without the help of the dog. The dog is typically used when somebody's getting away or somebody's being very uncompliant, and it's an officer safety issue. But in this case, it looks like they had enough guys to deal with them, and it doesn't look like the guy was resisting too much. But once again, I have to caveat that by saying I don't know all the facts, and I'm just looking at a quick little video here.
Yeah, listen, we're up against the clock and out of time, but I have really appreciated the conversation. Laura Richards, former violent crime analyst at New Scotland Yard, and Sheriff Mark Lamb of Pinal County, Arizona. Love to have you both back soon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Calling in the troops, a group of Marines spring into action during recent flooding at our nation's capital. The video and grateful cries from the woman being rescued. That's our American Snapshot next. The Marine Corps motto, Semper Fi, meaning always faithful. Take a look at this. The Marine Corps body bearers were actually heading home from a funeral service at Arlington Cemetery when they trudged through knee-high floodwaters to rescue a driver in trouble. And it's our American Snapshot tonight. Hopefully we have the video of it, at least. The woman was trapped in the car, got to meet with 2 of the Marines this week. Hopefully you got a taste of this, at least on the way out, because the video is amazing. Marines in their dress blues rescuing this stranded driver, and she got to thank them for their service as well today. It's our American Snapshot without the snapshot. My apologies, just my description. Have a good night. Leland's next with On Balance.